Good morning and welcome. On behalf of the speakers here today and all of us, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we're lucky enough to gather today. This is Aboriginal land, and we offer our thanks and respect to the elders of the Turrbal and Yuggera people. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as the first Australians, and we recognise their deep connection to this land. We're also lucky enough to have Auntie Louisa Bonner here a little later to welcome us to country more formally. My name is Rachel Mealy. I'm an ABC journalist, and it's my pleasure to be your MC today at the Lady Musgrave Trust's 15th Annual Forum on Women and Homelessness. For the past 138 years, the Lady Musgrave Trust has housed young women and their children who are at risk of or experiencing homelessness across this state. As well as the impressive turnout here in the room today, we're joined by a huge audience online. Hello, welcome to you all. I'm sure they're waving. Today, we'll pull apart this topic, a safe way home, and we'll try to find some answers to the question, how do women find a way out of homelessness and build a better future? To do this, we're going to discuss what's working and why. We'll hear from leaders of giant organisations as well as those working in community at the grassroots. This might be the day when someone gives you an idea that you take and replicate in your field of work. It might be a project that's grown in one community that could make the difference when it takes root in your community. As well, we're going to look behind the scenes at the systems and investment reform that's taking place to address this huge, urgent and growing problem of homelessness. I'd like to extend the thanks of the Lady Musgrave Trust to today's sponsors, the QUT Centre for Justice, the Queensland Council for Social Service, the Queensland Government, Elevate Residential and Valiant Event Hire. We all know that without these sorts of sponsors, events like this wouldn't be possible. And it's a testament to today's sponsors that when they heard about the important topic, they stepped up. The event has come together over the years on a shoestring budget, another demonstration of collaboration in action. Working together, we can solve anything. So today, let's set our minds to homelessness. Professor Melissa Bull is the Director of the QUT Centre for Justice. Please welcome Melissa.
Thanks, Rachel. It's lovely to see you all today here, and it's terrific that this event is so well supported. I'd like to also begin by acknowledging the Turrbal and Yuggera people as the traditional owners of the lands where we meet, lands that were never ceded. As you know, I'm the Director of QUT Centre for Justice, and I just want to say a few words about why this event matters so much to us. We're an interdisciplinary research centre here at QUT, and we've got more than 80 researchers that come from all across the university: marketing, engineering, communications, education, social work, justice. I've probably forgotten a few, but this diversity is important to us because we're concerned, and our aim is about empowering and enabling people and communities through solutions-oriented research. Our vision is the democratisation of justice, and we want to do that by improving opportunities for health, wellbeing, enhancing inclusiveness of work and education, and widening access to justice as it's more traditionally thought. For us, the way to deliver our commitment to the democratisation of justice is through partnerships built on meaningful collaboration and inclusive research. So this is part of our meaningful collaboration, being here today and supporting such an important cause. So we're interdisciplinary, and we take this approach because we recognise that working in silos doesn't work. If you want to stop people ending up in the criminal justice system or becoming homeless for that matter, many of the solutions come from investing and working to improve inclusion in everyday life and access to services, resources more broadly across all the domains that they need to be themselves. So in the centre, we have two goals. We want to do excellent research, really excellent research, and it's a bit of a plug. There's some examples of the work that we do in relation to homelessness in our briefing papers that are on your seats. Please have a look, and you'll hear from Professor Michael Flood later in our program, who is one of our leading researchers. And the second way we do this is by doing our great research in the context of meaningful engagement and partnership with communities. And what I mean by that is people with lived experience navigating access to justice in their everyday lives, with government at all levels, with practitioners, with service providers, and with those they work with. So our vision is strongly aligned to the vision of Lady Musgrave Trust, which is to alleviate the problem of homelessness for young Queensland women and their children so they can live safe and meaningful lives. And they do this by working in partnership with organisations and individuals that share a similar commitment. So we're delighted to contribute to that work, and particularly so by being a sponsor of their signature event, the annual Forum on Women and Homelessness. We did the same last year and it was fabulous. It was really great. It was a half day that together representatives from community organisations, government departments, the tertiary sector, to hear about the key issues that affect women being able to secure safe and stable accommodation. Thinking about that and the energy and the conversations that started with last year's event, I'm confident today will provide a similar opportunity for us to hear and learn from women's lived experience and build future productive partnerships. So enjoy the day, make the most of connecting, talk to the person next to you, and hopefully you'll hear something that strikes a chord with you that you can take forward from this event. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Next, I'd like to invite the Chief Executive of the Lady Musgrave Trust, Victoria Park.
Thank you, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the lands that we're meeting, the Jagera and the Turrbal people, and pay my respects and gratitude to elders past and present. Wow, this is an extraordinary program. My heartfelt thanks goes out to all of the speakers that have agreed to be part of this program. It's been an absolute pleasure to pull it together. My heartfelt thanks goes out to everyone in this room and everyone that is joining online. We take very seriously the work that you do every day, and for you to take time out from that work and come today is a big responsibility for us that we feel to make sure it's worth it. And the planning committee started their planning in February this year, and representatives from a lot of different organisations have been contributing every 2 weeks to designing a program that will make a difference. For those of you that joined us last year, it was a very raw and honest and emotional event. We were talking about the pathways into homelessness, and we were really delving deep into the role that domestic and family violence and early relationships and gender roles play in women being at risk of or experiencing homelessness later in their life. It was a big event, and there was a lot of processing afterwards, and I know there was a lot of action afterwards, which is so important. We wanted to continue the conversation this year and look at the pathways out of homelessness. And when we started planning it, it was in February this year, the housing crisis was known, but right now that understanding has turned into this giant roar that echoes across the state. And the words housing crisis is I'm becoming desensitised to it. But I can't become desensitised to what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and who I'm meeting. Driving in this morning, going for my walk, talking to our partners, talking to our tenants. The housing crisis and even the talk about housing stock and supply issues doesn't really account for the lives of women and the lives of children that are being affected by this. And I know everyone in this room is incredibly passionate to solve that. So the program today is to talk about and put the spotlight on the secret source of things that are making a difference. And we're hoping to change mindsets, we're hoping to inspire, we're hoping to connect people and organisations so that these solutions can make a difference, because it has to. I'm also here just to share a little bit of an update on what the Trust is doing. So we are cracking on, and we've got great plans to increase the supply of safe housing, and I'll talk about that. I'm on a panel today, so I'm excited to share that with you. But apart from this signature event, we also produce that handy guide, and we've been doing that for 10 years. And for many people, they refer to it as the Purple Book. We've heard from community organisations, they call it their Bible of services. And women and also organisations who work with women use it as a resource to connect women to services. So we've been distributing it free for 10 years, more than 220,000 copies across the state. And last year we asked a number of you on how we could improve it in terms of the format and the design. So the new edition is going to be ready. It's currently in production, and the new edition of the Brisbane and the regional, so we've got 2 editions there, will be available in the next month or two. It's looking beautiful, and also the database that we're using is comprehensive, it's accurate, and it's validated. So we're feeling really, really confident that it's going to be a tool that you can use. I've also got great news, and you might have seen this for our social posts. The Older Women's Handy Guide that we produced a couple of years ago has left the nest, and we've handed it over to Footprints Community Organisation, who are the perfect partner. They're specialists in housing older women and issues related to older women, and they've taken this on with gusto, and they're going to breathe new life into this important resource, and it allows us to focus on our core cohort, which are young women and their children. And while I'm talking about the handy guides, I'd really like to reference our online handy guide. So we published this last year, and again, it's using the database from Info Exchange, which is also the database that Ask Izzy used. So again, it's validated, it's comprehensive, but we've curated it to focus on housing and domestic and family violence services and information for women. It's easy access, and we really, really encourage you to support and promote the online handy guide. We've recently produced these small business cards that you're able to hand out to your the people that you work with, and if you'd like a stack of them, please get in touch. They're really handy to hand over, and so a woman in need can find and use a resource at any time that they need. I'd like to really thank the planning committee that has been involved in pulling this together. Your support has been enormous. The organisations that have stepped forward I'm full of gratitude for them. It again shows how collaboration can create great things on shoestring budgets. I haven't acknowledged my board. I'd like to acknowledge President Louise Kelly of the Lady Musgrave Trust Board, Jocelyn, we've got Glenn here, Jenny who's just stepped down, Leanne, and all of the other board members that are joining online. Thank you for your support. One of our sponsors I did want to make a special mention to is Project 55, or Elevate Residential. This is a really good example of a collab doing things differently. So BHC, we all know and love BHC, they've started their Profit for Purpose real estate agency, and they've pulled together this really nifty campaign called called Project 55. They're encouraging private rentals to come on board so that Elevate can provide property management services, and all the profits from those will go towards sponsoring older women in housing. So that's another really interesting, exciting way of how to solve this crisis. I'll leave it there. I just wanted to say thank you very much. Enjoy today. Connect with people at morning tea. Connect with people afterwards. And thanks very much for carving out time to be here.
Thanks, Victoria. It's a thrill to introduce our next speaker. She's young, she's brave, strong and ambitious. She's also going to share her story of experiencing homelessness. Please welcome Aicha.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for having me here today. My name is Aicha Kamara. I'm 19 years old. I enjoy creating music and going to the gym in my spare time. Did you know that young people experience the highest risk of homelessness in Australia? And more young people are being pushed into this crisis? I was one of them. I left home when I was 16 years old. I went through a stage in life where it got so dark, I struggled to find light. I left home for my own well-being. It can be very difficult learning from people who you love but haven't healed themselves from their past. I remember my experience of homelessness as if it was yesterday. I went from house to house struggling to find a safe place to lay my head. I had no support, resources. I got unenrolled from high school due to unstable housing. I was financially unstable and it was difficult finding a job. It was so exhausting and overwhelming. Imagine a young person who is constantly in survival mode, struggling to be young due to being faced with these life challenges. I was lucky enough to have been accepted by Phoenix House after months of struggling to find accommodation. The challenges I had to overcome was getting out of my shell that I had been stuck in for so long and to ask for help. They allowed me to fully express myself and be myself without any reaction and judgment. And due to my background, that changed my whole life. I just wanted to also add, whoever came up with the name Phoenix House should definitely get a promotion. Because that's exactly how I felt. I went in so broken thinking I couldn't be fixed. After getting support mentally and on my personal growth, I wanted to keep going. Blessings after blessings just kept coming my way. It started to get overwhelming at one point. I got accepted into the new BYS housing. I could not stop smiling after hearing this good news. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I finally had stability and my own space. During those times of transition, I wished that my soons will finally turn into finallys, and it did. At first, I was anxious about moving into the place I was so joyful and excited about. I was moving into a new environment, especially by myself, but I was so grateful that I'd be receiving continuous support from the Positive Transitions program. I got help receiving furniture, utensils, and important household items, and worked on saving, organizing, and prioritizing the right things in life. That's not even the best part. They encouraged me till this day to ask for help, and I managed to achieve my dream career goal. I got enrolled into the ASC group, the Australian School for Entrepreneurs. I have a small business hoping it will become big one day called They Envy Beauty, where beauty lovers shop. I sell beauty, cosmetics, and personal care items for my customers to have a positive self-image of themselves, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And who doesn't love an affordable Australian online store selling everything you thought you never needed? You can definitely search up theenvybeauty.com.au on your search engine to check out my page and hopefully become a member. Thank you.